Soccer will be at Charlotte on Thursday at 6 o'clock and then home on Sunday against South Florida. Volleyball is at home on Friday night at 6. They host South Florida, and then they'll be on the road at UTSA on Sunday. Swimming and diving will open their home season this weekend with their Alpalooza. You can say that 3 times, which will be on Friday and Saturday. I meant you to say it 3 times, not me. I got through it once. That's all that's required. And baseball will have their first of their 2 exhibition games. This one will be on the road at Louisiana. That'll be 1 o'clock on Saturday. And their second one will be in 2 weeks, and it'll be on a Sunday here at Reckling Park. So that is what we have for now. And we'll get started shortly with Coach. And we have Andrew Otway and Quentin Jackson. Thanks for coming.
From the record.
Centurion, Stoican. There's a Monty Python reference for that. Nobody Python.
Your kids? They will Python.
Centurion, strike him, throw him to the ground viciously.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we?
I'm good. Warmed up for you, Coach. We're all ready to go.
I'm in. How are y'all? You look good. So everybody said thank you.
All right, hey, Tuesday game week. Yeah, so I'll just start off by, we're excited here. This week kind of finishes a run from the time we started. We get a bye week next week, so really need a good week of prep, and excited to get back on the field. I think year ones are like that, right? You see yourself grow or modify from week to week, and then how do you build on that? And that's kind of where we are, and excited for that this week, and knowing that we got a really, really tough opponent and head into a very hostile environment. And so with that, I'll open up to questions. Yeah.
From JP Heath.
Where is he? I mean, you tell him I asked him that.
Yeah, I will. I'll be sure to do that. What does McCown look like, the quarterback?
Well, I think he's a talented guy. He understands our system really well, right? He can make a lot of throws, and he's really athletic. I mean, his feet, I think, are probably the thing people don't talk about enough. And so I think there's a lot of challenges there that you have to defend. And, he's just a mature guy under quarterback for him.
And have you gotten a sense of the rivalry with UTSA?
Oh yeah, without question, right? When you think about league play, since I got here, I probably had more conversation, more questions about UTSA. Have you met Coach Traylor? The history of UTSA, and so I love these games. I said it. Whether those questions about Houston or questions when I went back to Charlotte, I do. I love the opportunities. I love the game where there's something else there. I think your kids rise to the occasion, and going on the road, playing in front of a hostile environment. I've said it before. I think these are good things for your program. And I'm excited for the weekend ahead because I know it will be just that, a hostile environment. Playing in the dome there, it should be a great atmosphere for college football.
And does it change your approach in any way for y'all played Navy, a program on top, and it had been winning. UTSA is a program that last couple of years has been accustomed to being that top dog, and they stumbled recently. Does that kind of change your approach to a game like this where they're coming off?
No, absolutely not. I think it does the opposite. I mean, you're talking about a program that Coach Traylor's built some history there, right? They're used to winning and being at the top of our league consistently, and that's the team we're going to get, and that's the team we got to prepare for. We got to prepare for the team that is what we know they are, right? And playing on the road's tough. Playing at Temple, I say this all the time. Winning football games is hard. Winning football games on the road is even harder. And I talked about that when I talked about Louisiana and our win there in Charlotte. Those are two really good wins on the road. And in Navy, I thought we played well. Kept within striking distance. Not what you want, but winning on the road's hard. And so that is our challenge. And I don't think you can take a lot away from their Temple game on the road. I thought they played hard, got some bad breaks.
And then when you look at their defense, anything stand out that makes them a little bit different from maybe what you've seen so far?
Oh, I think it's their best front seven. I think it's the best front seven we've seen all year. I really do. I think they're athletic. I think they're physical. I think there's a lot of talent there, and so that jumps off at me. To answer that question, and there's no shortage of athletes running around, right? They play a lot of guys, and so our job will be to try to make them play slower, right? That's our job each week with defense. How do you make them play slower with your scheme? And I thought Temple did a good job of that, right? Kept them on their heels a little bit so they couldn't play quite as fast, and that's a challenge. But that's our challenge this week. But yeah, I think their front seven's really good. I think they got a lot of good pieces there. They're big, they're long, and they move well.
And then partly because the front seven is so good, they've been susceptible through the air on the back end this year. Does that tempt you a little bit to lean more towards the pass, or how do you prevent it maybe from tempting you?
Well, I think you got to stay true to who you are with this. With the idea of knowing where, how your offense is growing, right? So, last week we talked about our success throwing the football, right? Had some success at Navy throwing the football, right? I think all that builds confidence now going into a game plan like this, right? And that's what you want. And so, we'll see, what we're able to take advantage of and what we're not. Ideally, you'd like to get in space, right? Whether it's your option game or your pass game, and put your guys out there to make some plays. And you saw, I think, in the amount of touches last week that some of our slots had through some of that's certainly a point of emphasis, but we got to run the football. I mean, inside you have to, right? So there, at some point there'll be a battle of wills, I'm sure. Right. But, we'll be ready to make sure we're doing our part inside of our offense to try to help them play slower.
Speaking of running the ball, Robert Henry, over 9 yards carry.
Yeah.
Can you talk about him and what he does for that offense?
Well, I think he's the guy that makes it go. If you watch them, their success offensively, when they've been real explosive, he's making them go. And when they haven't been quite as explosive, it's, when he's not on the field or he's missed, or he's taking a break, they're still good, but they're not as explosive. So I think he's the key. Well, we got to contain him. We have to tackle well in space. And I think he's one of the nation's leading rushers. Right. So that's our defensive challenge this week.
Can you talk about Q Jackson and being able to break one and
how about that?
Good things in the offense.
Yeah, he's right outside the top 10 in the country rushing. I don't know if you know that, but when you look at his rushing totals and Q Jack is continuing to be a big emphasis on our offense. I think last week he had 19 carries. It's really about kind of where we want to draw the line for any of our backs with touches, just because we know it's a long season. But he got out early on that big run, right? Really good read by Chase. It was one of our triple concepts, and Chase made a good read. And but I think the thing that goes under viewed by when we talk about Q-Jack is the tough yards he gets inside the tackle, which, my offense is built around that, right? You got to get some tough yards when you're running your inside zone concepts, and he's really done a phenomenal job with that, and that's not always easy. And I think that gets lost a little bit, but he's it's been such an exciting part of this year one offense for us that, certainly no stranger to you guys, but has been a slow, steady pace to going to where we want to go. And I said this in our post game, and now that I've watched film, Saturday is one of our best days, right? May not show up like explosive score, but we had 3 drives that I think started inside the 10 now. And, we only had 8 possessions on the whole day. We were 10 for 16 on third down. We gave ourselves an opportunity to score on 4 of the 8 drives. We missed a field goal. And a 5th drive got stopped on a penalty, right? Made us 3rd and 19. And so when you start looking at that, if you can score on 50% of your drives, it's a pretty good Saturday. I think the national average is like 30%. So huge growth for the offense. I take the first half of Navy out of it. We didn't play well. Thought it was sloppy. I don't hide from that. But other than that, you look at what really the progression. It's been a steady, slower pace than any of us would want, but it's certainly making strides in the right direction. I'm excited about it. And I think the players see that now. There's been more explosive plays over the last 3 weeks. Now we got to combine it. Now you got to put it all together. You got to be able to sustain drives. And that's really the next thing. Like we've seen us drive the field and try a field goal or not finish a drive. And we got to learn to, if it's a 10-play drive, then we got to own that. That has to be part of our DNA. We can't just rely on explosive plays. We're not that program. And so, we got to combine that. We got to mix in some explosive plays like we're mixing in. And now we got to mix in, I think one of our drives was 91 yards Saturday, right? I want to see more of those, I really do, because that changes the game for everybody, right? That makes everybody in the pro, when you can do that, everybody gets better. Everybody wins, right? When you can control the football like that. And so, when I talk about that, those are the things, but you have to control the football and finish drives. Yeah.
All right, we'll go online. Steve, you have a question?
Yes, Coach, you kind of just touched on it, but Saturday felt like maybe your cleanest game of the year offensively. So what are kind of some of the things that you look back maybe on the defensive side of the ball on how you can win a game like that?
Well, so I like the way you worded that. It was our cleanest game, right? We had very few miscues. I thought we did a lot right. And then we missed on some opportunities, right? I think to win a game like that, I think we got to capitalize and we got to get points on that field goal. All right, that's one. The holding penalty kept us from being in field goal range again. And then defensively, we can't give up the big play, right? I think we played really good defense, but if we look at Saturday, right, getting off the field on third down and then giving up the explosive plays, that was our downfall Saturday, right? The tight end getting free in the back half a couple of times, right? The wheel route that came across that opened up scoring opportunities for them. You're talking about a handful of plays, really no different when you think about Navy and you think about, and I talked about Houston, the first 3 quarters, it's a handful of plays that keep all 3 of those games from being different, which I find so much encouragement with. I mean, 3-3 is not where you want to be, but when you really look, our opportunity to win, I think Matthew asked me this, the opportunity to win all of our games so far has been there. Okay. And learning how to win is as important part of year one in the DNA as what you're building for your program as anything. And I think seeing it on film, watching our guys watch that and understanding how important some of those plays are, moments with whether it's eye discipline on defense or finishing a drive on offense or making that field goal at the end of the half, how big 5 plays are in all these games they're just enormous for a program that you're going to have a shot each week, but 5 or 6 plays will make a difference. And I don't say that to put pressure on the kids or our staff as we coach. It's just reality.
And then Robert Henry Jr. this year, I think, has 5 touchdowns beyond 70 yards for UTSA. So you kind of have to, everything plays a red zone play for them. So how is one thing that you have to combat those long touchdowns, because they can strike at any time?
Well, we got to be gap sound first, and we have to win up front. We have to win the line of scrimmage. I say that every week, so it doesn't change. And then you got to be gap sound when you win off line of scrimmage. Like if you win and you get out of gap, then you're not winning. So we got to be gap sound there, and then we must tackle well at the second level. I think he gets to that third level, man, it gets really hard, right? To chase him down or to make an open field tackle at 15 yards with a lot of space. And so we got to be gap sound up front. We got to tackle well at the second level, and once again, force them to drive the field. That's a great formula for us. It's what we did Navy the second half. We forced them to drive the field, didn't give it the big play, right? It's really, for the most part, it's what we did Saturday, right? It was, you think about the score, 17-7 at halftime. They got, fewer explosive plays in the second half, and you give yourself a chance to win there. And so, just got to, you got to do those things. Not easy, but that will be our challenge.
Thanks, Coach.
Awe, Q, any questions?
How you guys doing today?
I did want to ask you about the big run you broke and kind of how you view your responsibility in the offense. I know a lot of attention has been made on Chase and the reads he has to make. What's kind of going through your head and your eyes on that play?
Really just reading my keys and knowing down the distance. It was third down and 3, so really trying to get the dirty yards so we can keep the chains moving. But Chase made a good read, and then the O-line did their job. They gave me a two-way go. They had almost 5 yards of push, and it just gave me a two-way go. And then I seen that green grass, have to make one miss, and then just was going through the back of my mind, don't get caught. So thankful for the O-line did their job, and Chase made a beautiful read, and I just did the rest.
Does your brain enter kick return mode at some point when you see that kind of field in front of you?
Just a little bit. It's just more of don't get embarrassed mode. And going through my mind, don't get caught. But thankfully, I had enough speed to finish in the end zone.
And then you have that big run, but another day where a bunch of guys were able to be productive in the offense, kind of things started clicking. Kind of what's the biggest thing you've noticed last 2 or 3 weeks that y'all collectively have taken the biggest growth step?
I think improvement and just being consistent on the offensive side. I think we did a good job of having long drives. Like Coach mentioned, we had a lot of drives that started inside the 10-yard line. So next is just finishing the drives with points, putting more points on the board. I think we did a good job of just getting the first down. And after we get the first down, I feel like we're a very good offense. We just got to get that first down out the way. I think we did a good job of that, and just keeping the chains moving all game long.
3-3, heading to San Antonio. Talk about road game, tough environment. Talk about that from your standpoint. And I know you don't look at the other team, but sometimes. But in regards to their defense, what do you know about them? And talk about going on the road to play them.
Yes, the road game is always a tough environment, especially going to Astrodome. It's going to be very loud there. San Antonio really supports UTSA. I see it all online with the 210. So, like Coach mentioned, their defense is very, very athletic. Their front seven is very big and very physical. They fly to the ball. They don't miss a lot of tackles. I think it's going to be a good game for us up front. I think we got to match their intensity, be more physical, and but I think UTS defense is very physical. They're fast. They're athletic. They're going to fly around the ball. So I think it's going to be a very good game come Saturday night.
Steve, you have any questions? All right. Thank you, Q.
All right, appreciate it.
Andrew.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Good. I want to ask you, do you look at all at your personal stat totals throughout the year? And do you have kind of any frame of reference during a game of, I feel like I've hit a lot of guys?
Nah, I just be doing my job. I really don't know until y'all come in and tell me something, or coach tells me how many tackles I had that game. So I don't really know nothing about my stats.
And then when you look back at games that you've played, a lot of football here now, you played UTSA a lot. Does it play anything in your head that, finally broke that streak of them winning last year and don't want to give it back?
Oh man, probably like when I first got here at Mount Times, like it was one time. I think we were like, I don't know, that one year we were just everybody's homecoming game, and it was once we were in the Alamo Dome, and it was one time they did the wave and they had like rice to pinata and they kept on hitting it, and I just hated that every time. So ever since then, I just had a chip on my shoulder, like, nah, we got to beat these guys. They have no respect for us. So, ever since then, I just always been like a game that I really want to win, and against these guys, especially they're a good football team, coach well, play hard. So, and that's what we like to do. So it's just a battle of wills at this point.
Andrew, you always seem to be around the ball. It seems like you're playing instinctively. Kind of talk about that. More like John K's defense was built for you. Talk about that.
Yeah, Coach K, when he came, it became the DC. He said he wanted to give the linebackers, able to, fly around, get to the ball more, make it more for the defense. I've been here for a long time, and I know the defense like the back of my hand. Coaches tell me like, hey, like if you have a question, any player have a question, go to Coach always. So I pretty much, hey, I know what everybody doing. So since I know what everybody do, it helps me play fast, able to have trust in my D-line, my teammates gonna be in their gaps, do their job. So able to do that, just run to the ball, and also watching my brother's film. You play that tech, you let in tackles. So I guess you're just part of the family type of thing where you got to get to that ball. So yeah.
Your teammates call you coach?
He said what?
Your teammates call you coach?
Oh, sometimes.
Here's the real question.
Sometimes.
I got you. So you just said you've been here a long time, so you understand the rivalry with UTSA. Talk about playing against those guys. It's got to be a different kind of feeling when you get into that stadium, especially since you've been there, done that. Talk about that and how you can help the guys around you.
It's a good environment. Not many games we have in the indoor. So I know some guys gonna be like, "Oh, it's nice, the bright lights." It's like a mini AT&T stadium, I guess. But it's a great environment, great stadium. Crowds, probably one of the bigger crowds, that we gonna have this year. So just able to lead my guys, it really just doing our jobs like it's practice. Every game I go into is like it's practice. Now it's just the practice results matter. So that's what I just gotta do with my teammates, leave my teammates on the field like, hey, it's practice. And when it's practice, well, that's when we play the best. No nerves, no pressure. Hey, we go back on the bench, watch the film, see what we can adjust, see how we can stop them in practice again. So we love playing defense, especially. So it don't matter. Like we come out there and be like, hey, no matter how many times we get on this field, it's practice. Let's get a stop. This is a red zone period. This is a 25 yards backed up period. So we just treat it like it's practice and have fun out there. Fly around to the ball, having fun. That's when you play your hardest, when you play your best.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Andrew, this UTSA team's returning most of the starters from last year. Is there anything that you can recall from last year's win that's really helped you with preparation this week?
I think that's the first time we played Owen. And I remember we didn't really know much about his legs. We know how athletic he was, and he's a very athletic guy. So a lot of people don't know or basically look past that. So it's really about containing the quarterback. A lot of times we don't want him to break outside the pocket. He really be dangerous with his legs as well and extend plays. So doing that last year was really one of the big points, and getting off a third down last year was a big point as well. Getting off the third down was one of the biggest points that got us to win that game, especially. So just really focusing on that this week, getting off on third down, because we really do good in first and second down. So many third and longs, but it don't matter if they convert, third and long. So that's what we got to focus on this week, and just look at film, what we did on the week before, and what we can change, and that could really be the big difference for this game.
And you and Ty Morris have played together for a while at the linebacker position. Kind of like, does it feel like you have like a good synchronization with him where you always know where each other are on the field, and how could that help on this game?
Yeah, sometimes me and Ty, few people know, sometimes we switch positions on the field. We'd be like, you know what, you stay on the other side. We just know each other's jobs, what we expect of each other, we communicate, and we just have that chemistry around each other. So me and Ty, like, hey, we like this. Hey, I already know what he's thinking. He know what I'm thinking. We come back on the bench. We'll talk. We even talk on the field. We be coaches on the field. So he got my back. I got his back. So anytime I see something or he sees something, he'll let me know, and I let everybody else know on the team. So it is really good to have someone you can trust out there on the field, someone who knows, who thinks like you, and plays hard like you, puts that energy. We bring something else to the table. He got more of the energy, more of the hype. I got more of the logic, and I got more of the, what I'm saying, the coach in me on the back end. So it's pretty cool having that dynamic with us on the field.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, thanks, everybody. We will see you in person or on Zoom after the game Saturday.